Sup, Sexy Peas? Welcome to Sexy Peas, recipes to give you confidence in the kitchen. All right, so let's get started with the drink this week. We're gonna go with wine. There are essentially two different kinds of wine. There's a lot more, but we're gonna limit it to two at this point. There's a red wine and a white wine. We're gonna start with the red. First of all, you have to be able to get into the bottle of wine. We're gonna use, I like to call them a wine key, but they have plenty of different names, corkscrews. There's the giant one that's called a rabbit or something like that. I think it's kind of like a vibrator or something. But we're gonna start with red wine and just a standard wine key. First thing you do is you'll notice there's some foil around the top. We need to get rid of that. There's a lot of different ways you can do that. One is a tool like this that you basically just wrap it around the top and spin it and it cuts the foil. But we're gonna go old school with our wine key. A lot of them have a little knife on the back. So what we'll do is there's a little lip around the edge. So what we'll do is we'll just set that knife on the lip, spin the bottle, so it makes one revolution, and the foil pops off. You don't need to do anything to that, I'm just gonna set it there. Always shove the knife back in so you don't mess up your hands. So this one is a corked bottle. So we take our corkscrew, we put it in the middle of the cork, somewhere in the cork, it doesn't really matter, and just spin it in. You can spin the bottle or you can spin the corkscrew, it doesn't matter. Till you have it far enough in, then you'll notice this little piece hinges, right? If we have it up too high, it's not gonna work very well. So we wanna get it well in. There's a hinged wine key that we're not using today. I'll show you that sometime in the future. So what we wanna do is we wanna roll this down so it sits on the lip of the wine bottle. And then what I like to do is grab a hold of it so it holds that in place. And we use this just like a lever arm for all of you. I'm sure everybody's an engineer. And we just pull it straight up, wine comes straight out. And if you want to be real fancy, you can let somebody smell the wine cork, but if you have no idea what you're doing, it doesn't really matter. So two types of glasses, red wine and white. I know this isn't a white wine glass. Talk about that later. So with the red, you typically want to use a glass that's wider and gets a little thinner, usually shallow, and not fill it all the way up. But there's one more tool we want to talk about. This is an aerator. I don't know what it looks like, doesn't look like anything to me. It's called an aerator. And what it does is it adds air to the wine, so you can take a really crappy bottle, not that this is a crappy bottle, it's actually a good bottle of wine. You can take a really, can I say $2 chuck? I can't say $2. So you can get some cheap wine, run it through an aerator, and it actually makes the wine taste exponentially better. So if you have a $5 bottle of wine, it'll taste like a $7 bottle of wine. Pretty simple to use. You just put it over your glass, pour the wine into the top. It makes a lot of noise and runs in. And spill on the counter. Always have a towel ready. It's always going to run down the neck. Not always, but usually. So you don't want to fill it up too far. You only want, once the glass starts curving back, you certainly don't want to get past that point. I put not quite enough in this one, so I'll put a little more in. Just so you can see me using this fantastic aerator once again. There we go. That's probably about the proper amount. Looks good to me. Now, one of the problems you may run into, especially if you've never done it before, is how to use a wine key. And there's one really simple trick to get away from that, to get around it, and that is screw top caps. Don't be ashamed. Everybody has to learn somewhere. So with the screw top cap, it's exactly the same as opening up anything that you've ever opened that has a screw cap, which is pretty universal. You just open it up, cracks it, opens it up. Here's the thing. You can also use the aerator for a white wine. You're only supposed to use it with certain white wines, but in the beginning, I wouldn't sweat about that. Go ahead and use it, but we certainly don't want to use it filled with red wines. I'm going to wash it out real quick. There we go. And it's the exact same process, although you can put a little bit more white wine in a white wine glass. There we go. Smell it, pretend like you know what you're doing. You can do the spin, look for the legs. Again, if you don't know what you're doing, don't do it. Or just taste it, see if you like it. Ooh, that's actually smells really good. All right, general rule time. Never underestimate the value of a good deli. Number one, if it's a good deli, they've got all kinds of things that you can buy and pass off as your own. Vital to have. Anytime you're in a pinch for time, you can get something good. I've done that many, many times just because I'm really busy. But also get to talking to the people that work in the deli. They can give you all kinds of hints, tell you how they prepare things, tell you what kind of special spices they use, salts, tarragon. There's there's more than 7 different spices. So I don't know. Just talk to the people in your local deli. Find a good one, find one you like, talk to the people, learn as much as you can about what they know. All right, recipe time. I'm going to teach you a trick that I've used a lot of times, and feel free to use it. It makes great mashed potatoes. You sometimes have to lie to people, so be prepared for that. So here's a super simple way to do mashed potatoes. Number one, get pre-made mashed potatoes. You can find them in every grocery store. Get yourself some Italian blend or just Parmesan cheese. You can get fresh or you can get the bag stuff. It doesn't really matter either way. A little sour cream and some butter. Don't use margarine. Use real butter when you're cooking. If you're just greasing a pan, then you can use margarine. But if you're actually going to use it for flavor, make sure you use butter. We're going to need, I would typically use a spatula for doing something like this, but we talked about spatulas last week. So I'm going to show you how to use a wooden spoon on something like this to keep your stuff from burning. So let's get started. Just open up your smashed potatoes. Take the plastic off. I'm making a mess. I'll be right back. I'm back. Pour your mashed potatoes into your pan, into your pot, excuse me. There we go. Not very exciting. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put this on the stove and just heat it up, because you can see right now it's kind of chunky and not smooth like you're used to mashed potatoes being. So we are going to put it on the stove and heat it up so that we can get it to where it looks like actual mashed potatoes. Can you see the stove? Mm-hmm. Okay. So one of the things you'll discover is that you're going to have a favorite, when you get old like me, you're going to have a favorite pot. This is my favorite pot. My mom gave it to me when I went to college. And you're going to have a favorite burner. This is my favorite burner. So we're going to turn it on. We don't want the fire to be too high because we want to heat this stuff up real slow. This flame is way too high. So we're going to turn it down so it's there, but it's not scorching anything. That's one of the things you're just going to have to get used to doing, to figure out where the heat should be. We want this heat to be low so that it heats everything up slowly. Once it's good and heated, we can start mixing everything else in. So if you're working with an electric stove instead of a gas stove, this is a gas stove because it has gas. If you're working with an electric, stop making that face. You don't need to make that face at me. I don't need that face. If you're working with an electric stove, just put it on a low setting, higher than warm, but not less than medium. Put it on low. Low or medium low. All right. So we're just heating this up slowly. Takes a little time. Don't let it bother you. Just keeping it moving. So on a wooden spoon, looks round, but if you look at it from the side, there's actually a flat point here on a flat edge. And when you're working in a pot like this that doesn't have a round bottom like a wok, you can use that flat edge to go around the perimeter of your pan just to make sure nothing gets sealed in or stuck in the corner, because anything that gets stuck in the corner for too long is going to burn. So just keep mashing it up, stirring it around. Go around the edge with your corner and let it continue to heat up. All right, so now you can see the mashed potatoes are starting to get a little bit smooth. And this would be fine if you just wanted to take this to some, If you wanted to just take those mashed potatoes to some event, am I still in the show? If you just wanted to do, can you see me? If you just want to do that, that would be fine. Nobody's going to complain, but nobody's going to ask you for a recipe. So let me show you some tricks. Number one, on my back, get a little container of sour cream. Doesn't matter which brand. I don't even know which brand this is. I didn't look. Pour the whole thing in. This section of videos is not for... Squeeze sour cream in. This section of videos are not for learning how to measure. We're not learning how to do timing, anything like that. All we're doing right now is figuring out how to put stuff together and stir it up. So we have the sour cream in. Turn the fire back on because I turned it off while we were editing. And just stir it together. That's it. All right. Just get it all mixed up. Oh, shit. We had a minor earthquake, but everything's fine now. Are you good?
No, because the chair's in there. Okay.
All right, you got it?
There we go.
Still recording?
Yes.
Okay. All right, get it all mixed together. Again, you could take just the sour cream and mashed potatoes to an event and people are going to enjoy it. But we're adding more. We're going to add the cheese. Here's where you get to kind of pretend like you're measuring, even though we're really not measuring. We're just kind of loosely measuring. Make sure your hands are clean. I just got out of the bathroom, so my hands are super clean. Never tell anybody that because then they're going to think your hands are covered in shit. Mine are not. But basically, take a handful of cheese, add it in. Try to hit the container though, that would be better. And then stir that in. I have my fire a little bit too high. So I can feel it starting to get stuck on the bottom. So we're just going to stir it up till all of the cheese melts. It's going to melt pretty quick because the mashed potatoes are pretty warm. All right. And then we're going to add one last ingredient. I need to get a knife. And we're going to add the butter we were talking about earlier. If you look closely on a stick of butter, you can see that it's partitioned off into tablespoons. This is not a heart-healthy meal. We're going to take about half a stick of butter, which is about 4. All right, so we have our half stick of butter. Just dump it in. This is going to take a little longer to melt down. So just stir it and stir it and stir it until the butter melts. It's going to take a little bit of time. But you can see it's starting to get a little creamier with all the butter and sour cream. It tastes fantastic. At some point, you might feel comfortable adding a little salt and pepper. I wouldn't advise doing that now, but at some point in the future, if you feel comfortable doing it after you've made this a few times and experimented with it a little bit, then you can do that. So here's where you have to learn how to lie. I've made this recipe many, many times, and I've never told anyone that it's prepackaged Bob Evans mashed potatoes. So what they're going to ask you is, holy crap, I got to have your mashed potato recipe. And you can say, just start off like you always do making mashed potatoes. So you cut out all of that peeling of the potatoes and quartering them and boiling them in water and all that jazz that I don't really ever do because I just don't. So you say, you start with regular mashed potatoes. Then add in a little sour cream, add in some Parmesan, add in a little bit of butter, and you make fantastic mashed potatoes. All right, this is roughly, after you get everything mixed together, all the butter's melted, sour cream's mixed in, cheese is mixed in and melted, that's the consistency you're looking for. It should look like just some creamy mashed potatoes. Trust me, they're fantastic. You want to keep stuff off the edge as much as you can, especially while you're heating, but turn your handles away so kids can't get them. So our toast for this week is one that can be used at a funeral or perhaps at a wedding, some event where you would typically have people together, but there are people missing. So this week's toast is to absent friends. It's toast. delicious. If you want to go faster than the speed that we are going, or if you want to watch old episodes, if you want to get prepared for what you're going to need for next week's episode, you can go to sexapiece.com. It's spelled sexapiece.com. There's a link below where you can click on that. And enjoy the kitchen. We'll see you next week. Did you get it? Is it going? Okay. Now pretend like that we're just now getting started, okay? There's the giant one. It's called a rabbit or something like that. I think it's kind of like a vibrator or something. You don't need to do anything to that. I'm just going to set it there. Always shove the knife back in so you don't mess up your hands. Cut the out. There we go. There we go. I think that's about it for that section.
Okay.
Is that good?
Mm-hmm.
If you're working with an electric, stop making that face. You don't need to make that face at me. I don't need that face. Are you ready? I feel like I'm
Ratatouille.
No! That's even better. I could be Ratatouille. There we go. Not very exciting. You can start mixing everything else in. So you go ahead and pause that while I get this. I'm G, bitches. I'm the original gangster. All right, general rule time. Stop laughing. Stop laughing. Stop it. I'm trying really hard. All right. Low or medium low? Say when. All right. If you wanted to just take those mashed potatoes to some event, am I still on the show? If you just wanted to do, can you see me? If you just, I don't know which brand this is, I didn't load. Pour the whole thing in. This section of videos is not for, can you cut that out? That was a joke. All right, you going? All right, just get it all mixed up. Oh shit! We had a minor earthquake, but everything's fine now. Are you good?
No, because the chair's in there. Okay.
All right, you got it?
There we go.
Still recording?
Yes.
Okay. Try to hit the container though, that would be better. All right. I can do it. I'm a big boy. But I am going to get it out of there. Hold on. So it doesn't stink. Okay. All right, you ready to go again? Okay. That's it. It's delicious.